Okay, seeing that the time is 6:30, I'd like to call the meeting to order. The select board for January 20th, 2026, and begin the meeting with pledge of allegiance. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We have a forum with four of us. Van Newman is running late. Hopefully he when he can. So I move that we open the meeting tonight. Second. All in favor? Okay. And we begin our meeting with public comment, which is a time to bring up issues that are not on the agenda that we would deal with at a future time. So does anyone have anything, either in person or if you're on Zoom, anything that you would like to bring to the attention of the board tonight? Okay, seeing none. The first item on the agenda is to move and approve the minutes of January 6th. So moved. Second. Okay. So does anybody have any comments?
I did not have it, I don't have anyone else.
All right, Does, you know, okay?
No, I looked through them earlier.
Okay, yeah. All in favor? Thank you. All in favor, one absent. And we have a special guest with us tonight. We have the RSU superintendent, Andy Carlton, who's here to talk with us about the school district.
Sarah Langet, you guys know I am a school board director. I work from Belgrade. I would like to introduce the superintendent.
Okay,
So-
Mac and Matt.
Yeah, and we have a full threesome here today. We have myself and we have Max Staples and our other the school board rep and the superintendent. So I asked him if I could read this. I think it's pretty good. Is how he was introduced to the RSU in September. So it's in the Facebook of the RSU if you want to read it. It says, meet Andrew Carlton, superintendent of RSU 18. So the personal background, and this is what I put together for his personal background. And tonight also we have an ex-school board director, Mrs. Sharon Frost.
Hello.
State representative now. So I'm introducing Mr. Carlton, Mrs. Frost. So his personal background is Mr. Carlton lives locally with his wife Kendra and their 4 children, Emily, Anna, Wyatt, and Tucker. Family is very important to Mr. Carlton. Emily is a sophomore at the University of Maine at Farmington, and nevertheless, she is studying secondary education with a concentration in English, while the younger 3 are students at MSU 48 and heavily involved in athletics. When the family is busy with sports or theater productions at Lakewood, they enjoy spending time together at the lake. Perfect, just like we do. Mr. Carlton is also an avid golfer and takes every chance he can to get out on the course. Professional journey. Mr. Carlton brings 23 years of experience in education and leadership to this role as a superintendent of schools for RSU 18. He began his career as an educational technician before becoming a special education teacher, special education director, assistant principal, assistant superintendent, and superintendent. In addition to his work in education, he also served for 2 years as a city manager of Garner. Throughout these diverse experiences, one lesson has remained constant with Mr. Carlton, and that there's always something new to learn. Leadership ambition. Carlton is excited to join our RSU IT forward to learning alongside staff, students, and families. He is especially eager to spend time in school buildings, seeing the work of educators and staff firsthand. As he believes deeply in the perseverance and dedication it takes to work in education, recognizing that every person in the school community, no matter their role, makes a difference in the life of a child. Finally, message to the RSU community, and here's the kick. Superintendent Carlton shares his gratitude and admiration for the educators, staff, and families of the RSU team, who continue to dedicate themselves to improve today and shaping the future for students. The thought itself is noble, but the reality is that each of you does more than you think about it each day. You live it. From the bottom of his heart, he thanks everybody in the district. He looks forward to partnering with district community to build RSU traditions of excellence. And with that, Mr. Carl.
Thank you. First of all, thank you all for having me, and I don't want to talk to add to anybody, so I don't know would you like me to stand?
Yeah, I think if you want to come up,
Over here.
that way we can get you on the Zoom.
Oh, perfect. Oh, the owl. I like the owl. So first of all, thank you for having me. I love Belgrade. I've played some golf in Belgrade, which is always nice. But it's just such a nice community. Downtown is great. My wife and I always come for dinner once a year. It's just a really, you can feel the community aspect. I mean, I've been to a lot of select board meetings. I've been to a lot of, obviously, I did a lot of city council meetings a few years ago. Don't usually get as many people as you do here, so that's fantastic. RSU 18 is an amazing place. You know, coming from, I had left education for a couple of years. I loved education, but the pandemic was bought. And I just had come to the point where it was time to learn something new. And so I spent 2 years in Gardner as city manager, and then realized I really missed kids, and I love kids. I love kids. I love teachers. I love everybody that works in a school district because, you know, I say it all the time. Every person who works there is an educator, regardless of their role. They affect the lives of a child somewhere along the way. And so, you know, consequently, it's not a profession you go into to get rich. You go in because you love kids, and that's important. So, you know, the RSU 18 is a pretty special place. It's unique in some respects. You've got 5 communities, 4 of which that border each other and 1 that doesn't. You've got 2,700 students, which makes RSU 18 the 11th largest school district in the state at last look, and over almost 750 employees. So it's pretty big. You know, when I was in RSU 4, we were 240 employees and about 1,400 students. So it's very different. We've got 8 school buildings. And then we've got our district central office and the special ed office. One of the things that impresses me so much about what's gone on in RSU 18 is its commitment to A, safety, but B, its facilities. You know, you go to a lot of school districts in the state, and I've said this before, I was a school board member in MSAB 49 where I live. You know, there's a lot of places that keep kicking the can down the road with regards to maintenance to facilities. Well, from my perspective, that's educational malpractice. And the reason I say that is because if we don't have safe buses to get children to school and quality safe buildings to put them in, we can have all the great curriculum in the world. We can have all the most amazing teachers. Can't have school without those things. And so consequently, there's been a heavy focus in RSU 18 on those things, making sure buildings are safe, they're healthy. Our buses are healthy and safe, and we've got quality bus drivers. All in all, it's just an impressive place. You know, looking forward, obviously we're entering budget season, which I know is difficult. It really is. And so we're doing some hard look on what the budget looks like, year over year expenditures and things like that. But all in all, it's been a wonderful transition for me. It was a little overwhelming at first. The first day I came into the office, I went, oh boy, it's been a minute. This place is big. But I think as you know, the last 6 months have gone, we made some really good headway with regards to our relationships with our organizations inside the district and outside. You know, I spend a lot of time talking with staff, meeting with staff, talking to them about what they need, what they don't need, what frustrates them. I've always done this, but I started doing exit interviews with people who had left the RSU to see what was, kind of getting in the way of them staying. I mean, ultimately, we want people to come to work for us for a long time. So why are we leaving? Ultimately, there are lots of reasons behind that, but I think we've made some huge inroads with regards to the relationships with our unions. I say unions, they're associations, but with unions. So all in all, it's been a very positive transition. The school board is fantastic. They really are. You've got two really good directors here in Belgrade that advocate really well, not only for students, but for Belgrade, and that's a win. And I think that happens from every community. So ultimately, I really like what we've got going on in RSU 18, and I think the educational component is impressive. If you take a look at our data, a lot of it exists on the website. We do some amazing things with kids, and I say we. It's not really me. It's our people who are every day in the classroom working with kids. So beyond that, I had met with Kristen last week, talking about some things that we're going to do moving forward to partner. One thing that we talked about was, summer transportation for rec. We're gonna not charge the town of Belgrade for that anymore. And we're gonna do that because at the end of the day, we are all swimming in the same pond. And I've said this before, I know Sarah's heard me say it, Max say it, we're a $45 million company that doesn't make any money. And we exist in the pockets of the taxpayers, and we've got to make sure we're working together to try to find creative ways so we can help each other. So ultimately, I'm glad to be here and I appreciate it. So thank you. And if you have questions, ask them. I don't know if I can answer them, but I'll try. If I can't, I'll get you.
I do. I'm sure you're aware last year that the school budget was a big issue
Mhm.
and
Yeah.
it barely squeaked through. It did
Sure.
not pass in Belgrade. It did not pass in Rome and maybe.
I think
Oh,
it did pass
I don't
in
know.
Rome.
It was really tight.
Yeah.
So, and Belgrade and Rome pay, substantially more per capita per student. And I understand that school funding budget is set by the state,
Sure.
the baseline, the additional local funds, okay, you
additional.
need help on that, is, there's some flexibility in that. And, I'm concerned about the amount of reserves that the school board has.
Mhm.
And my understanding is we used to have a cap of 5% that could be in reserves. COVID came along and they moved that cap to 9%. And then about a year and a half ago, I think Barbara was at the meeting with me. They announced that that cap was going to go back to 5%, and there would be credits coming to the town. It would be paid back or credited to the town over 3 years. I then understand that in the legislature last year, they didn't pass going back to 5%. So my question with that long introduction is, knowing that the pressures there are everywhere with budget, and especially we feel it, that I question, is it necessary for us to remain at 9%? If for years and years we were at 5% cap, that can we work towards getting that cap back down to the lower number?
Well, ultimately, and you're right, the cap stayed at 9%. That wasn't changed. Reserve funds are tricky because there's allocated and unallocated. And so they're tricky in the sense of how you use them to help your taxpayers. And I think that's the goal. And the way to use them, and I think everybody does this. I did this when I was in Gardner and other districts, is you take some carry forward money and offset in your revenue lines budget. The dangerous thing about doing that is that someday, if that doesn't exist, you've now created another artificial hole to fill. And so I look at how can we use our reserve funds, our allocated reserve funds, to offset things, just like with COVID funds that came out, which we could go down that road. I was so frustrated when we got to the city of Gardner and found out how much money municipalities got in comparison to the schools, but that's a whole other conversation. using that money wisely to offset artificial spikes in the budget. I think that's the goal. For instance, we were really lucky in July. We had the chiller go down at Messalonsky Middle School. It's a $260,000 purchase that unit that we were going to have to either budget for. Luckily, we had reserve funds, and we were able to use those to pay for that instead of having to affect the budget. So I think that's the goal moving forward, is to get that a little more palatable slowly over time with projects that so they don't go in the budget, so we don't take on more payments than we need to increase the budget. So
Sarah?
Another thing that went out is it gave me joy to hear in the school board that moving forward, we're gonna be very tight to the actuals. So we really referencing the actuals. And that to me, you guys know how I work here with the budget in town. And that's to me so primal. For years and years, I've been primal rather than building a budget over a budget.
Right.
So we're gonna have that anchor, and I've been really promised that that's gonna happen. So I've seen good progress on that, and I'm very excited where it's gonna come for this year budget.
Sarah, that was my next question.
well, and that piece too with actuals, right? So that's really important for me. As a taxpayer myself, looking at where we're spending, and it's a massive budget, right, as far as the number of lines, but really taking a hard look at year over year expenditures, instead of looking at, if you've got two lines, one that you've underspent year after year and one that you've overspent, instead of just bumping up the one that you're overspent and leaving the one you've been underspending, moving money around to offset, instead of moving those budget monies around to offset the overspending from where you're underspending, instead of just putting more money in the budget. And that to me is really important. I've always done that. I've never brought a budget out of anything that we didn't need. And that's the big thing, is really looking at need. Want is one thing. We all want things, right? In our own homes, we want things. I'd love to drive a Porsche, but that's just not possible, right? And so consequently, need versus want. I think, we got pretty spoiled in education for a long time, at least 4 or 5 years with the federal government's COVID relief funds. There wasn't a lot of know that. So taking a hard look, it made budgeting a little easier. Now taking a hard look at what's our student population. Where do we need teachers? Where do we not? Where do we need educational technicians? Can we move people instead of adding? And taking a hard look at that. It's important. I mean, at the end of the day, like I said, we're existing with taxpayer dollars, whether it's coming from the state or it's coming locally, it's still all taxpayer dollars. And it's important that we're very transparent on that. So.
Good.
Do we have, I'm wondering what our population is of immigrant families of children who perhaps need additional help with English as a learned language, and are we meeting their needs as a district?
We are. It's actually pretty low in comparison to some of our neighbors. I don't have the numbers off the top of my head, so I don't want to speculate, but we are. I think we're doing a really good job there, but our population is pretty small in comparison. For instance, I worked in Waterville last year. Waterville's up over 215 students that are multilingual learners. And so consequently I was actually having a conversation with their superintendent the other day about they're going to need to hire a coordinator, a full-time coordinator and more staff to do that. We're not there at this point in time. We do have a part-time coordinator who works with that, our population of students, but for the most part, our numbers are pretty low.
Tom?
Tom Dowd. I know from attending meetings in the past with the different superintendent, basically unspent funds basically could be kept by the RSU, and in the past, some were awarded as bonuses basically to teachers, and then some of the funds were used to reduce the next year's tax burden for Belgrade. I guess what I'm not getting out of this exactly is what's the current philosophy?
Well, as far as with unspent funds,
Correct.
correct? Well, so part of that will come from the full board. For me, being very purposeful in how we use those. From my perspective, the taxpayer dollars, we need to use them to, again, it's with no different than the reserve funds, or the unallocated reserve funds, using them to offset and not create artificial spikes in the budget.
Well, if you have unspent funds, you've basically told the taxpayers within the RSU that that's the amount of money you needed. You wound up not needing it, but you're gonna hang on to it basically.
My goal is to not be there. I mean, last year, I think the budget ran 99.2% efficient on the expenditure side, which is pretty impressive given the size of the budget. So that would be our goal every year, is to run between 98 to 99.5% efficient, so that we are asking for exactly what we need instead of having large amounts of money left over every year.
But does that partially occur because you have unspent funds in one area and you're basically using that somewhere else to come out at the 99% or whatever?
No, so how that happens is, so I'm a firm believer in when you have budget lines paying for things out of where they're supposed to be, so that you can see your actuals. So there are other places where I've been in the past where we don't have any money left in this budget line, so we're just gonna spend it over here. No, we're not gonna do that. We're gonna spend it where we're supposed to spend it out of, so that when coming the end of the year, when we start building our next year's budget, we can take a hard look at, again, coming back to, we needed it here, we didn't need it here. And so moving money around instead of adding money to the budget.
Well, thank you.
Yeah.
Sure.
So that high level of efficiency, is that pretty common across the state, or do you think that we're doing a better job?
I think budgeting is getting better. I think that's the key, and I think I think there have been times in the past where budgeting wasn't good, and I can't say for here necessarily, but I look year over year, look at the actuals for the last couple of years. I can't speak to 5 or 6 years ago, but I think it was hard for a long time when we had those influx of federal funds that were just coming all the time. And I remember when they first started coming, they were so stringent on how they could be spent, and then it was wide open. And then more would come, and then all of a sudden more would come. So it was really hard to budget appropriately during that time, not knowing what was coming and what wasn't coming. Now those things have dried up. We're not seeing those anymore. So making sure we're budgeting appropriately gets a little bit easier. But it really comes down to looking at need versus want. For me, what do we need versus what do we want? And what do we need to do to continue educating students at the same rate we have been? Because I will say, the RSU's, the academic outcomes for our student in RSU 18 are pretty impressive in comparison to other districts, certainly around us.
Any other questions here or online? Not seeing any. Thank you very much for taking the time to come out and speak with us tonight.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And you're welcome to stay for the rest of the meeting, but since you've been through plenty of them before.
Thank you both.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, moving on to unfinished business. The first item is permit fees and driveway permit. Laura?
So you've looked at these previously, you have, I gave you the driveway permit, it was updated this afternoon, so I put that on top of your desk. Doug and Dan were able to meet with Hans and go over, the permit and land use fee schedule, so you have 2 schedules, in your package. If you look down at the bottom, lower left, you'll see one of those has a 2026. And the other one is 2011. So that just kind of gives you a better idea of which is the old, which is the new. So the new one is the one that Hans, Dan and Doug were able to put together. Reviewing and kind of updating, bringing those fees more in line with what we should be charging. I know that there was a question, Mary and I were looking at this morning. If you look at the 2026 version, just as an example, the very first residential dwellings, it says $100 or 25 cents a square foot. So is that $100 minimum?
Yes,
So it's whichever is greater.
correct.
Right, okay. And so we wondered if maybe we should just put a
Grade
line,
above.
right? Somewhere that kind of designates that before we finalize this. And we did note previously, we had I believe we had increased the driveway permit to $25. But we did note that you had increased it according to this fee schedule to $40. So Mary did give us the updated driveway permit that does have that $40 fee on there for you. So basically, it's a matter of you all looking at that, approving it, and then we would likely, I know Mary's on, I think we would probably make this available at town meeting or put it on our website. So folks could see what this was, because we do have a warrant article authorizing the board to be able to change this if need be and not go through the ordinance.
I know there was a question about, and help me out here, if they're resealing a driveway.
If you were
That
resurfacing,
was
Research.
resurfacing, yeah, we pulled that out.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's gone.
that is.
Okay, that was my question.
And we had, basically the pricing from like 15 other area
Right,
towns.
yeah, I know we
And
have.
we kind of tried to stay in what the average was
Mhm.
for everything, so.
I mean, I would move that we accept the the building permit land use fee schedule. With the addition of greater than being added. As presented. As well as the driveway application permit.
Second.
Any further discussion from that?
Oh,
Oh, Matt?
Yeah, I wonder, did you check with Phoebe Cobb?
Yes, that was one
Yes.
of the ones we worked off.
Okay, great.
We had their entire document.
Just to leave it alone back on.
Yep.
So,
Mary?
I was just gonna say contingent on the warrant article is approved of at town meeting. To allow the board to increase those fees, because those fees initially went through a town meeting. So the only way they can be changed is to authorize the board to accept those changes. Or to make changes, basically.
So should we wait until the next meeting?
Well,
To-
maybe a contingency upon the warrant article being accepted at town meeting. That way you have already authorized it and we won't have to go back again.
so I'll amend my motion to include that wording. Will you re-second it?
I will.
Okay. Any further discussion on the amended motion? All in favor? Or in favor, one absent. And thanks for your work on this, Doug, and Dan in absentia. Okay. Next on the agenda is well contaminated contamination update.
The state, we've been waiting for the state to get us another contract to review for the RO systems. So Teresa did send that over and she did, give us a little overview, so I'll just read that briefly, quickly. So attached for your review is an amended and restated agreement between Maine DOT and the town that reflects our mutual decision to pivot away from the community water line to the installation of reverse osmosis water treatment systems and installing bump outs on properties of bump outs on properties that cannot otherwise house the sizable system. Please note, when we first discussed this change and your board opted to move forward last spring, we were estimating a $1,250,000 price tag. That figure is currently lower, down to 1.1 million, because there are a handful of properties that would have been included in the community water system arrangement, but will not likely be included for the new RO systems. And she has a note on page 3 of that document for more details. She said, I still think it is prudent to keep the higher figure in our back pockets in case of any surprises. The draft also incorporates provisions allowing the town to pay over a 10-year period. I know that's what we had discussed with him previously. You'll see in the draft that the original calculations based on the 1.25 million figure are still visible. I thought it might be helpful for you to see how those higher numbers played out. There are still many unknowns that could increase the 1.1 million estimate. So I sent this right over to Phil and asked him to give us a quick once over, which he did. He was pleased with it, liked it, did not see any issues. We did note that the first payment year is 2025, so that would need to be changed to 2026, with the 10th payment year becoming 2035. In addition, legal counsel and I reviewed the original warrant article for the previous agreement and have written a new warrant article for the board's review, which should be included for June, as we are too late for the January 24 meeting. So there's the warrant article that I got written, sent that over to Phil, and he has approved that language. So that will be all set if the board wants to move forward for June.
Just one question on, I'm assuming it's the properties that are not gonna get the arrows as a properties that already have arrows, like we here and.
It very well could be. I didn't read section 3. Is that
It's
where?
page 3, I think it's page section 4. It talks about impacted properties, and number 2, impacted properties not included in subsection I above are eligible in the future on a case-by-case basis. So maybe that's why they want to hold on, make sure that there's enough money.
I know when they were originally looking at putting together the new contract and going over all of the properties, that they actually went out and retested the properties. So it may be a case that those properties are not bad enough for an RO system, but they might be in the future. That could be increase.
So when we go over warrant article, we're gonna carry the original amount on the warrant.
I would say we want the higher amount just in case, but that would be for June. Yeah.
So we're saying the town legal counsel has reviewed this agreement?
Yes.
Whose side are they on? Okay, the state is walking away from the previous agreement because it was too expensive. The way I read this agreement, there's nothing to keep them from walking away from this agreement either. And the thing that this goes back to is there's 2 contaminations going on. One is the salt contamination from the stockpile, and the other thing that's occurring is salt contamination from road salting. The state's 100% responsible for the contamination from road salting, And they have shifted some of that onto the town, unless everybody in this room knows that everything in that triangle basically is due to the salt piles. The salt piles have been covered for a number of years, but if you go to this agreement, there's no limitation as to future claims. So if the stockpiles that Belgrade is responsible for have been covered for a number of years, what's going to cause the future claims? It's probably contamination from salting the roads, which is a state issue. So that's one thing. If you look at item 2, it says Maine DOT and the municipality will not require affected property owners to sell either component of their well claim prior to installation. So what's that, a hope clause? It's like, go ahead and install the RO and we'll settle up in court later on. There's absolutely no limitation on any of this in terms of dollars or time. So basically, if the state thinks it's gonna cost 1.2 million or whatever the number is, put your money where your mouth is and say, Belgrade, you do not have to pay any more than 1.2 million. If you've covered the salt sheds years ago and you're no longer polluting the water, say anything, let's say out 10 years or whatever, is no longer subject to future claims by the municipality. And the other thing is, you've got too many cooks in the kitchen here. You've got the municipality mentioned, and you've got the Maine DOT. Put all the responsibility on the Maine DOT, that's their thing. No one in the town of Belgrade is an expert here. Go ahead and sign over whatever agreement you need to do, but basically have it managed by the Maine DOT, stay out of it and fund it. Put limitations as far as reliability and as far as the time. Anything else, it's a financial disaster. They thought they could install a water system for 3 million. They're walking away from it. They're gonna walk away from this agreement, and the taxpayer is gonna be stuck with it. And I think you need more aggressive legal counsel to review your agreements. I don't see where this agreement is enforceable. There's so many clauses in there. Well, if this doesn't happen, we can walk away. If that doesn't happen, we can walk away. It's not a contract. It reads like a meeting notes.
I want your opinion. Yeah, you've worked the most on it, so have you read that contract?
I have not read, I've read through it quickly, but I have not gone through it line by line as much as I want to. But we can't get this on the agenda till June.
Right.
So
we got time
we have
for it.
time, we have
Yeah.
plenty of time to look at it. I mean, our obligation before was a lot larger. This is a lot smaller dollar obligation
But
to what
I
we
kind of
have.
agree with what Tom is saying.
And I can tell you, the last thing I wanted was a water system for 12 or 13 houses that we had all the maintenance and upkeep on once it was built. That was nothing that I wanted any part of.
And it couldn't support any more houses if we had more.
And yeah, I mean, there were huge problems with that other agreement. So this type of an agreement to me is a welcome change. Going through all the details and all of that, I haven't had time because very honestly, I've been looking at trying to get budget questions answered and that type of thing, and we have time.
Well,
So I would advise that, one, we don't have a full board. So if we're gonna vote on something this important, I think the full board has to be here. And I don't think that's something that needs to be voted on tonight. We have time to review it, and I think to look at the points you make and see how that comes through.
So Tom, are you saying that we have a page that's the monetary agreement that says that the state funds 50% and the municipality funds 50%?
But it's unlimited. And the other thing is, if you look at the Maine law, as far as I can tell, nobody's following Maine law in terms of dealing with the affected sites unless where it says basically that, will not require affected property owners to settle. Part of the main law says you're supposed to have already proposed a settlement to those folks. Does that happen?
They have,
Yeah,
yes, met with the homeowner.
With a proposed settlement?
Yeah, and they offered them the settlement.
I believe that this is the settlement, once we do the RO systems. Because they, when we spoke with the White, last spring, they talked about a, cash settlement. Along with putting the RO systems in that would take care of maintenance like electrical and. Whatever else for maintenance would be needed for the RO system for like a 15-year period,
It was an escrow for each one.
right?
yeah.
But if the folks don't take the system, the folks don't have to take the settlement, they can go against the state themselves.
Well, what it says here is basically they can take the system and still sue
Yeah,
you. They're not required to agree to anything. I mean, who would do that? I mean, it's,
Well, there's some other things I've read, I wouldn't agree to if I were one of the people, so. I mean, everyone has to make their own decision on that. I don't want to speak, because I have not gone deep into the detail on this. Because I've had other things I've been working on.
it's like I said, for all its faults, the major one is there's no cap to Belgrade. And you're really relying on Maine DOT, which hasn't performed on the previous agreement.
Well, we've been a lot of years trying to get to this point, right?
Well,
I mean, I'm not disagreeing with you, I'm saying
they've
this
been
has
dragging
been
their feet.
well,
very long.
I mean, just when I was on the budget committee, 2021, I worked with Anthony Wilson and basically the DOT rep. And they looked into basically an RO system for all the sites. And it would have cost, I think, less than $500,000 exclusive of any liability issues. And Maine DOT rejected it. So 5 years later, we're essentially going back to a similar setup. So there's been no progress in 5 years, other than probably spending money on new appliances for people's homes.
But I understand that the RO systems have improved in those 5 years.
And
They did a site in Gray and had success with it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
I
and
mean,
that's,
the
and
arrows
that's why,
changed.
that's why we decided to go to the RO system rather than the complete water system.
As the
The same
water
thing
system
you
costs escalated, it made them come back and look at, and they have had some success with this, or have had success with this. So,
So this was the better option than the complete water system.
It was always the better option, but they rejected it previously. Because my understanding was it was not an acceptable option from a legal standpoint. So keep that in mind when you're thinking about those future SCC settlements and the unlimited liability for the town of Belgrade.
and one of the properties we did have building on that we now have purchased. So that also would take one out of here. So, and that had one or two system, just one dwelling on it?
Yeah.
Was there just one dwelling?
Well, there's multiple, but there's all up to one well.
Well, that would be one that came out of this.
So I know there's one property that I have. There's a bunch of stuff that's already failing again, so I replaced it 3 years ago, 4 years ago, and stuff's all failing. I've already started rebuilding, so towns gonna start seeing some bills.
So I think, I mean, I think we need to, table this for discussion and, at least till we have the full board, until we've had time to really kick it around ourselves and digest it. So I guess I would move that we table this until our second meeting in February, at least. That gives us a month at
Right.
least to look it through.
And maybe at that time, is there a way to have legal counsel here so people can discuss this contract or
Or we can,
prior to?
or Lorna or one of us could discuss it more thoroughly with
Yeah,
Phil.
Yeah, I just, that'll help everybody give an answer. You're the one that's worked on it the most, Carol, so that's why I want.
Yeah.
to Read it over, so.
Tom, did you have something else?
I don't know whether, as a suggestion, you should basically ask the town council to reconsider if they were starting from scratch and none of the past history occurred and this had just come up, what their position would be, basically, as far as either litigation or a settlement. Because it was always my understanding that the town manager that agreed to the first agreement with the main DOT exceeded their authority and made a bad deal. So what main DOT has done by canceling the latest agreement essentially is, my understanding of contracts is you're back to square one. You're not obligated, and that's what they're saying is you're not obligated by any other previous agreements. You're starting over. So I think legal counsel should basically say, if we're starting from a clean slate, would we want the same outcome? Is it desirable, or are we in a much better position?
Right now, we have an agreement that we're 50-50, so we do have that sitting there. And we're looking to substitute that with a new agreement. So I think we need to look at all sides of it. But I think your points are well taken, and I think as we go through and look at this between now and next time it comes back before the board, we need to do some homework on it.
Thank you.
So I moved it. Did anyone second it?
I'll second.
Move the table.
Okay, but I have a question. Oh, do we want to come to a decision on this before the June town meeting, or is this similar to the last issue that we can vote contingently, or is this something that we can decide without the town meeting in June? I thought you had said something about this would be taken up at town meeting as well.
Yeah, we have the warrant article that would need to go on the ballot.
Yeah.
On the warrant for June town meeting, which authorizes the town to negotiate this contract, and that also authorizes that first payment.
So can we do anything?
Payment one of
Can we do anything before the June town meeting?
Well, you'll want, I would want to ask Phil the questions Tom has raised. Phil liked this contract or an agreement much better than the last one. Thought it was much better. But we will have to have a warrant article that authorizes the board to negotiate this contract and authorizes that first payment. So if you're comfortable with it, then we
I
could put
thought
the
we had
warrant article.
authorization to settle this claim.
Yeah, but it's not, it's different. The language is different. It won't apply
Okay.
to this. Phil and I both read it.
I think that's what Tom was getting back to.
Yes, yeah, it doesn't apply to
So
this.
it's
Okay.
It needs to be redone.
Yes.
Okay, so
If you want to send me a list of your concerns, Tom, I'll include that when I speak with Phil.
Sure.
Thank you.
okay.
I think it would be good to get those answers. It'll be good for us, and I think it would be helpful and ease your mind as well.
Well, under the current agreement, is unlimited liability, and I don't know who would sign a contract with unlimited liability, and I don't know who would sign one with an unlimited time frame. I mean, it's what I think you should talk to your town council if they're not finding fault with this agreement, and basically say, can we speak with somebody who's more specialized in contract law?
Well, and another thing, we still may want to look to, I made a suggestion 2 years ago that we hire our own geologist to see how far this is traveling, how long we should be liable for the salt pile. And I don't know where that ever went, but I made that request 2 years ago.
We have not authorized money to do that.
So we have a motion, Carol, and I have a second from Michael.
So I guess my question about the motion is
To table it till at least the
to
second.
table it, but do we need to table it to a specific date? Or is that enough time if we table it to the second?
Well, I
meeting
said
in
till at
February?
least the second meeting.
At least.
I think
Okay.
you're safe.
Okay,
Yes.
okay. I just want to make sure we have enough time to adequately review it. Okay. Okay, all in favor?
Okay.
One in favor, one absent. Okay, so we have, next up is the winter maintenance contract addendum. And I see we have 3 members of the Cummings family here to talk about the great job that you're doing plowing roads for us.
Everyone's favorite people.
Yes, you are. Thank you, Tom.
Thank you.
Good night.
Thanks, Tom. So at the request of the board, we put together an addendum for the current winter maintenance contract and had legal counsel review that's attached or included in the packet. Cummings and Sons Construction and has provided pricing for the additional coverage years of 5% each year, which will take us to May of 2029. I believe that. So I've given you a copy of the addendum and I sent that over to Brooke to take a look at as well. Had Phil review it. Phil was good to go with it as is. And I also have included the new pricing for those additional 2 years from Brooke.
Anybody have any questions for Brooke?
Is there any detail about it, if, for fuel? If fuel were to go up?
We didn't.
I haven't,
Go
I
ahead.
didn't put anything in, I'm hoping it's gonna keep going down, but
Okay,
I didn't put nothing in, I'll take a chance, I guess, and hope that it doesn't, I mean,
okay.
I probably should have put something in, but
You know if that would be
as
something
long as it
just,
goes to,
just so it's fair for you, in case something were to happen.
hopefully it won't, but I don't know how else to go about it, I don't know what you'd pick for a number to do it, I mean.
Yeah, we're going so far out to 2029.
Yeah. Well, I don't, like I say, I don't know what's gonna happen, I don't know, I mean, as long as it ain't California, we're paying $8 a gallon, it ain't the bad.
Right.
Right.
There was. Did we have more generic language in our contract with Warren Brothers? Or was there a trigger point?
I think it's $4 a gallon was,
I think it was $4, wasn't it?
Yeah.
That's what I
Yeah.
thought, yeah.
that would be the only suggestion I made, so he does, so they don't.
Right, I think we
Left
wanna
over
be
there.
more than fair with you as well, so,
You know,
I
I'm
would
fine with that, I mean,
suggest
as long as it doesn't go over $4, I'm okay with it.
right,
At least if we have it in there, then if.
then we have it in there.
Yeah.
And, you know, when that happens, none of us may be on the board and someone else is like, well, here, you know. So I think we should put that in.
Okay.
And, which would mean, and again, without Dan here, I think. If it's not time critical to you for anything,
Oh,
that we
it's
could
not.
address this at the next board meeting.
Yeah. that's
And
fine.
get that statement in so we're fair with you.
Yeah.
But. This. We wanna keep you happy. So. So I move that we, have Mr. Cummings adjust the contract and that we bring it back at our next board meeting.
Oh, I'm
You have
sorry, I
hands
haven't been.
Oh,
I don't see anyone. It's.
No.
Is that-
Oh, it's Abby.
Oh.
No, I think it's my pointer.
oh,
See?
Okay.
Oh.
False
Okay.
alarm. I just want to make sure it wasn't it.
So, Carol, you want to table
I want to table it to give us time to put a fuel
escalator.
at
full escalator,
Okay, yeah,
fuel
okay.
escalator in
Perfect.
and bring it back at the next
I
meeting.
thought the rest of it looked good, but
Huh?
I thought the rest of it was good, but we should
Yeah.
add that.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Did we?
That's,
Yeah.
Okay. Any more discussions? All in favor? In favor on this.
perfect.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Got my bedtime.
Okay. Well, we have heard nothing but good things about the job you're doing, so.
We tried.
Yes, you guys are doing
Yeah.
wonderful. Thank you. Okay.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Take
Have a
care.
good evening.
Night.
Okay.
Okay, next item, last item under unfinished business is new fire station funding.
So with spring right around the corner, we've begun looking at financing options for the CDS grant match approved by voters last May. Bruce, Tom, Dan and I met a week or so ago, and then the full building committee got together last week. So we've all discussed this. We talked about the main bond bank and utilizing their services, which is a great way to go. Rates are usually pretty good. The downside to that, the committee was concerned that if we wanted to prepay the bonds, that we could not do that, and you cannot. So you're stuck with whatever that financing, the interest cost is. So we talked about putting something out to RFP. I had talked with Lee Bragg at Bernstein Sure, who's the bond guru. He's been around forever. He's trying to retire. But I spoke with him and he wasn't super supportive of the idea. So I did a little bit of research, and when we all met the other night, the committee, we each talked about maybe banking or financial institutions that we had personal relationships with, and we all could think of some that we could reach out to and see if they might be interested in participating in an RFP if we put one out. So I did a draft, sent that out to the committee to see what everybody thought, and then we all started reaching out to individual financial institutions, and they were all actually very excited to participate in an RFP if that was the route that the select board chose to go. They don't know if you will or not. I didn't promise anything. But they're willing to participate and give us two options, one for conventional financing and one for a GO bond. So if it were me, I would do the RFP. I think we might make out better, and we would put in the RFP no prepayment penalties. So if we have money by fundraising, perhaps that we could use to pay that off sooner, to save taxpayer dollars, we could certainly do that.
And the other,
I like that idea.
the other thing is with that type of bond, if we don't need it all, we don't have to pay it. Where the bond bank, they write you a check and you're stuck with whatever it is.
Yeah,
whatever
like
you
leasing a car, you have a closed end lease and you're gonna pay that amount, you turn the car in early, you still pay that amount.
Right.
So we're locking ourselves into, and I think Dan mentioned that, help me out, Bruce, was it a prior bond or was it a purchase of one of the fire trucks that we paid, paid something off 2 years early?
Yeah, but fire trucks.
Fire truck, so if we did that here and had the money 2 years early to pay it off, we wouldn't get any break if we did the bond bank.
Seems like.
So the RFP to me seems to make a lot more sense to pursue that. And I think that's what the building committee
Yeah.
was leaning towards. And once we contacted the local banks or banks, not all of them necessarily local, they were interested, like, yeah, I'd be interested in doing that, so.
And how do the rates compare between the bond bank and these other options?
I think that you may be a little higher, but on the other end, if we're able to pay off earlier, you're gonna save it.
Anthony has a question.
Oh, Anthony.
Hi, all. Quick question. So if you put this out to RFP, is the bond bank still an option that you would weigh against whatever you receive from the RFP?
The bond bank application is due February 4th. If we put an RFP out, we wouldn't have anything back in time to go ahead and put an application in there for spring issue unless we did both at the same time. But we would be looking to do the RFP to finance up to 2.1 million, which is our match of that CBS grant.
If you submit an application to the bond bank, are you obligated to accept the money from them?
I don't know that we are. That's a question for Tony that I could certainly pose to her tomorrow. I did not ask her that. Are you aware? I know you've done some work with them.
I'm not, but honestly, given recent concerns about how the budget is increasing, and already tonight you've talked about an additional $50,000 per year for X number of years, it's hard for me to imagine the circumstances under which the town would make prepayments in order to pay off this bond early. I think you should probably be looking at a longer term. Even though you're going to pay more in the long run, you will at least reduce the annual amount that is to be raised and appropriated to repay that bond from the taxpayers.
I think the idea with the committee is that they're focusing on doing some fundraising to really offset and reduce what we might have to end up financing. And that is the driving factor to have that flexibility for prepayment.
Realistically, you would have to fundraise a few $1,000,000 in order to make it worth your while. That seems like a pretty tall task.
We're up for it.
I would think that we keep pursuing, if we can apply for the bond and not have to take it. I think we definitely could have that as backup.
I agree.
I think that's the.
I'm
Safety, so I
sure
agree.
I'm sure it must be set up that way.
Well, it
That
says
if you
if they award it, I don't know that
Right,
we're
you don't have to
obligated to
take it,
take
yeah.
it, but.
Yeah.
But there may be something special about the bond bank that you have to, so I don't.
I'll ask Tony that though. I'll send her an email tomorrow.
But I would say at least keep pursuing that, and we'll have one meeting the night before it's due,
I've got a question.
right?
I've got a question. I mean, the problem with the bond bank, we asked for 2.1, the prices come in lower. We're stuck with 2.1, no matter if it goes down to 1.7 or 1.6. The numbers are going out, it's going out for bid fairly soon. And then we'll have a better idea, but it just, I think it puts us into a spot. I mean, the only other option is when's the second thing for the bond bank? So if this one's February, when's the next one?
The fall issue.
The fall.
Yeah, they just do spring and fall. This one, they call it the spring issue. It's applications are due February, but you don't know or receive money until May. So the fall issue would be after that, Dina.
So if we get a price and it comes in cheaper, we don't need the 2.1 plus what little we have left in capital reserve. We're still gonna have to, with the bond bank, take the 2.1 no matter what. Even though we need 1.6 or 7 million.
Right. I would assume if you applied for the 2.1 and that's what they did paperwork for and you wanted to take it, that is what you would take. I don't know. That's another question I can ask her if it could be reduced.
I'm not objected to go into the bond bank, at least put in the application, as long as you don't have to take it. I mean, I think it puts down in a bind if things come in hopefully lower. Maybe they don't, but if they do, we're gonna be stuck. What are we gonna do with that extra money?
Well, I think we could look at putting together a little chart that says, if we took it and we had to go with, when I was speaking to one of the banks, they were saying it's like in the 6 round in the 6s or 6%, but if they can do it as a municipal local bond, I think that's the term, it could be 4% because the way it's taxed. So we look at what would it look like over 20 years at six, what would it look like if, and then we look at what the bond bank has. So that we have a comparison to say, they're sort of equal, we could do this, or gee, we'd have a better idea of how much we're putting at risk by not doing it.
Anthony, would you like to make a point?
Yes, there is should Dan's scenario come to pass, you could just simply invest the amount that you don't need into a CDARS. Chances are you're going to generate a higher interest from the CDARS than the bond bank would charge you for lending you the money.
I thought someone said we couldn't do that because you can't borrow.
I
You
don't
can't
think,
invest
I don't
money
think
that's
you can
borrowed?
invest
I don't
money
know.
that you've borrowed, I think it's illegal.
It's a question worth asking.
I think it's.
Absolutely.
I think it's
Yeah.
illegal.
Melanie has a question.
Yeah.
Melanie?
No.
Hi.
Hi. Cynthia.
So it takes me a second sometimes to get this microphone unmuted, but I just looked up that exact question on the bond bank application site, and hold on, I'll read you what it says. It says, under the thing of sorry, my dogs. How long is the loan approval good for? Once the Board of Commissioners approves the loan application, it's good for up to 12 months. If you have not closed the loan within 12 months, the loan commitment is considered expired, and you'll need to submit a new MMBB application, and the loan must be reviewed again in its entirety, including underwriting and seeking board. So that says to me that we could put the loan application in, and if you don't act on it for a year, it's considered by the bond bank as expired, and it just goes away.
We'd be approved for that amount of
That's
time.
good to know.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
so-
Thank
so-
you.
No, thank you.
So it would be worth putting the application in.
Absolutely.
Just to have it as an
For the
option.
backup.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Okay.
Okay.
Any other questions, discussion?
Did you, so we'll go ahead and put
I think
get
we-
the application ready for the bond bank for February 4.
Right.
And
put
we'll
out
also
RFP.
get the RFP ready to get that out.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
Do we need a motion to that effect?
And does the RFP need to say, we may not select any of them? Should we choose the bond bank type?
Well, we're just putting an RFP and people give us their best.
Right.
So I move we put out an RFP for funding for the new fire station to the banks, and at the same time proceed with completing the application for the bond bank. And we will, period. You don't need any
Is there
more.
a second? Any further discussion? All in favor? All right, all four in favor, one absent.
Lauren, when you get them answers from bond banking, send it out to the committee, please.
Yes.
Okay. All right.
Okay. Moving on to new business. Maybe appointments.
So we have, let's see, we have one new appointment of Brent
And Red Kryzo,
Okay, Kranza. Yeah, I
Yeah.
wasn't sure how to pronounce the last.
yeah, for the short-term rental ad hoc committee. I don't see Brent.
I got an iPhone 2 on here. Is iPhone 2 for rent?
So is Brent Kryzo one of our Zoom participants?
Friends not here?
I don't see.
Okay, well, I move that we table Brent's appointment until he can be here either on Zoom or in person.
Yeah, second.
All of it?
All in favor? All right, and we have a resignation. Oh, sorry, go ahead, one.
We do have a resignation, from Pat Donahue, who has been with us, I feel like forever. He's been serving in the Lakes, National Resources Committee, he also served on the comprehensive plan. Committee with us, I just love Pat. But he's, retiring, and I'll just read, what he said, I'm like, ready to let you know that I'm resigning from the Lakes and Natural Resources Committee effective January 31. My wife and I are moving to the Portland area. This is happening earlier than we expected. I truly enjoyed my time with you all in our mission protecting Belgrade's natural resources. He will be available to help on committee affairs until January 31st. And he did attend the most recent meeting this month, actually this week. So really going to miss Pat.
And had he already resigned from the comprehensive plan committee?
I don't think that he had. I don't remember that he had.
Okay. Well, I move that we accept his resignation and thank him for his many years of service. And if we haven't already thanked him for the good work on the comprehensive plan committee, that we also give him a seat for that. Second. All in favor? 1-1. Okay, town report.
Okay, so, the budget for our town reports was set at $3,500 with an additional $1,000 expected for postage. The first mini report for January had 40 front and back pages and was mailed out through the US Postal Service for every door delivery. That went to the post office this morning. That cost amounted to $5,625. We had budgeted $3,500 for printing the report, $2,000 for the newsletter, and $5,000 available for postage. So we have this first report covered as far as cost. Going forward, we have 2 estimates from Bromar. That's the company up in Skowhegan that we normally use for our town report. They do all of the printing for us. So we have 2 estimates from Bromar for the June annual town report, which will contain much more information and the 2025 audit. So there are a couple of quotes there, one for a full size, which is what we had in 25, so 8.5 by 11, 2,300 copies. The postage for that would be $2,300 plus. And then the printing $79.73, so you're looking at a cost of just over $10,000. If you go the smaller size, which you see many municipalities do, it's just that the half size, 8.5 by 5.5. 2,300 copies, postage for that would be $1,900 plus, and then printing $49.92, so a total almost or right around that $7,000 mark. So Mary and I sat down and talked about this at length, and we've done this a few times. We routinely get at least 200 reports back through the post office or the mail each year. And then Kenny also brings us many more that he rescues from the transfer station. So we thought it might be worthwhile to consider to reduce the size of the publication to save money. Consider not mailing it out, but print maybe 1,500 copies and make those available at the town office, the post office, Day Store, Christie Store, wherever people frequent, where they would just hop in and grab one off the counter. We could also, or we also do make that digital so that it's added to our website, and then we put a link out on our Facebook page as well. So people have access that way. By reducing the size, the number printed, and removing mailing costs, we could potentially save at a minimum over $3,700. And Mary did go back to Bromar and ask them for those updated quotes. So if you kept that larger size, but you did 1,500 copies, no postage, your printing would be right around that $5,000 mark. And if you did a smaller size, the half size, printed 1,500 copies, zero on the postage, your printing drops down to just over 3,000.
So we
And
would
what
not
about-
be mailing to out of state to someone.
Oof.
No.
Yeah.
From my
I
perspective.
still like that we mail them. I know it's expensive, but I still like that we mail them.
I mean, I think we definitely have to mail to non-residents.
If you can do non-residents.
Non-residents pay a lot of money in taxes. They do not get a lot of services. We're not educating their children. They're not driving our route. As a general rule, they're not driving our roads in the winter. So the cost of mailing to non-residents is one of the things I think is essential that we do.
I've argued this for years, that we've been mailing it, and our biggest tax base is non-residents.
So I don't know how people think about having our local people pick it up.
If you're gonna do mailing, your locals will be very upset. You're not gonna mail it to them, you're gonna mail it to the non-residents.
So,
And I don't know what we can do about people who,
well, some people read it,
Some
they've
people
read
read
through
them,
it, and they're
and then
like,
they recycle
okay, and they take it to the recycle. That doesn't mean they don't read it,
Read it.
right, exactly.
right?
The ones that get returned, we can't do anything about that.
Right, if the address is
No,
Yeah,
but,
but that's a small
but Kenny
percentage.
saves them for us, so the ones that get returned, but,
Well, no, the postage return, like from the post office.
yeah,
And a lot of that being in business and dealing with our local, Doug can speak to it, dealing with our local postal service. Half the mail that's going out is coming back to us anyway, so, and it's the right addresses, so. It's a local.
when we get them back, do we go in and check the database to find out?
I believe, yes, the front office does do that.
They do check the database to make sure that we're okay. Mary has her hand
Yeah,
up.
Mary has her hand up.
very,
I just want to say, I don't think that we have enough money in the budget to cover those costs. I mean, we could ask Bromar to wait for their payment until after the June town meeting. But currently, we do not have enough money in that budget to cover the cost of both what we're doing right now, sending out this special town report, and sending out also before June, because those are supposed to be in the hands of the taxpayers prior to the town meeting, which is minimally by state law 3 days before. I mean, we can ask Bromar to hold the bill, but technically the bill is due when the service is done. So that service is done in June. We do not currently have enough money in the budget to cover both of the cost of these. So that is why Lorna and I discussed this. We tried to come up with something that would help to reduce our cost. I sent out multiple things to Bromar. So there's something that the board needs to consider. Where is this money coming from?
Mary, I have a question about the town audit. It says, that this includes, it says 2 estimates for the June annual report and the 2025 audit. Is the 2025 audit included in the annual report, or is that a separate document?
We
No.
put
Go ahead.
in the report, so the annual town meeting for June will have the 2025 audit. They just.
And it won't be a draft, because a lot of the previous ones are drafts because
Right,
it's
they
not
just
finished in
started,
time.
they're on site this
Okay,
week.
so, well, but that was my question.
Yes.
So it'll be included in that.
Yes,
In the same document. Okay.
yes.
Okay,
But
so
that's not, payment for it is not included, that's separate.
we're basically going to have $5,000 towards this. Once you send the early one out. Am I correct? 5625? And we've budgeted 10,000. 500?
You've got 10,500 and we're pulling at least almost 6 of that. Because you've got 35 for printing the report, 2,000 for the newsletter, so we won't do a newsletter, we're gonna pull that money. And you've got 5,000 for postage.
So 10,500.
So we have
Right,
10,500
so
and
the
we're doing,
total, you've got a bucket of say 10.
so we've got $4,500 towards this. When's our next newsletter go out?
We're not gonna do a newsletter. We're spending that money right now. For the
So when will our next newsletter go out? Will that go out in June or July?
If we do a summer one, we could do it after the new fiscal year.
So we don't have
July.
another newsletter budgeted.
We're using that
Okay,
$2,000.
all right. Because we usually do, that's why I was trying to see if.
Right.
We have two
Usually-
annual reports this year.
Right.
So we're not gonna
Because-
do a spring.
Yeah.
Right.
Right.
Anthony did look.
Oh, yeah.
Anthony?
So the you ended FY25 about $400,000 to the good in expenditures. You have a healthy increase in your 6-month budget. Are you sure you can absorb this cost within the budget that you're going to be putting before taxpayers?
Mary and I talked about it that and thought that we may be able to pull and spread the cost throughout each department. We were looking for printing or any sort of a line like that in each department budget.
Well,
I think we could make it work.
I don't think it's as big of a concern as it's being made out to be during this discussion. You guys had you ended the year comfortably, very comfortably in the black, and the budget's increasing, and so I don't know that this is something to fret about.
I agree. I think we have it. We also, if we got into a jam, could look to the select board special funds for another 2,000 or 3,000. Or
I
5,000.
think we gave you 2,000 in your budget, the 6-month budget.
Oh, this is 6 months.
Yeah, 6-month budget. I still think Mary and I we did have this discussion and thought we could make it
I
work.
think we can do this and tighten up someplace else.
I think this is
Yeah,
important.
if you want to keep the regular size and do it as we always have.
Well, if you do the smaller size, do we have less content or we have smaller print?
Just smaller print. I know.
I would say, for few extra dollars, I'd stay with regular size because a lot of your town residents are older people and the small print is gonna be out of.
We wear glasses.
Yeah.
Sometimes they don't work so well.
So if the board would like to just proceed as, doing it as we always have done. That's the direction we'll take, we'll make it work.
That's where I'm leaning. I mean,
And I like the idea. I think it's great that Kenny rescues a lot of them because I know that we always have a stack of them here in the town office, and it's really helpful to have them for
Yes.
people who
Yeah.
Didn't get them, or summer visitors, or whatever. People who are here for meetings who want to refer to an old
Yes.
okay,
We do that a lot.
an old annual report.
Yes. Okay.
okay.
Okay. So we good for this?
We go to the next item.
Okay, recreation fees.
Kristen's like,
He's been so patient with me. So if you look at your packet. It's been emailed over, we pulled that contract.
Page 4 is the actual contract for facility usage, which is what has been being used since it was last edited in 2019. So those fees that are on there are unchanged since then. That's what was voted on, with the exception of where it says cleaning deposit. Mary and I found that at some point that cleaning deposit was bumped down to $50 without board approval. So it should be at $100, which is where it had been sitting, but somebody made the change and it's been at 50. So you'll see that, as we're looking at budgets and where we have room to wiggle and where we don't, without getting into charging families astronomical rates for recreation fees and trying to find a balance. We've done some research and, our rentals are significantly lower than most places in the area. So you'll see at first we have tables and chairs. Those have remained unchanged since 2012. We charge 25 cents for a chair and $1 for a table at this time. And then Avery and I load them into vehicles. So not a great use of time and money when we're getting to the point with a lot of our tables and chairs. They're getting used a lot for both things in the facility and outside. We are getting to a point where we can't replace without putting the cost somewhere else in the budget. So we did some research in the area. It's a pretty fair and it's still quite a bit lower. $5 a table, $1 for a chair. Most community centers are $10 a table and $3 a chair. Rental companies for high-end tables and chairs are more like $5 for a chair, $20 for a table. So I think it keeps us in the reasonable rate area. We don't charge table and chair fees if they're renting the facility. So that's aside because that's included in their rental already. So we are requesting that we look at that, which will help offset some replacement costs for us as well. Going back to the cleaning deposit, which again, if you look at the 2019 document, I'm not sure if that included in here, but Mary had found it. That was just $100 cleaning fee. It was covering the cost of a cleaner. We have increased our rentals this year. I think it's a little over $7,000 in the projection. And what we're finding, Lorna, Corey and I met this morning, is that myself, or if facilities and maintenance is unavailable on the weekend, or having to go and clean between those rentals, especially when we're in a back-to-back situation. So we do need to start looking at covering some of that cost. We're getting larger rentals at this point. So we're seeing 100 to 225 people for some of these bigger events. And then under other fees, there were some antiquated things on the rental. Eliminate a stage setup. We don't set up a stage. So that can go off. We don't offer that service. The projector and screen, very fair to just keep that at $20. That requires nothing on our part. It's just a rollout. They use the projector and the screen, access it as they need to. The sound system has been very appealing to people. It's working quite well. We're getting a lot of rentals because we have the sound system. We've had some candidate debates there. We've got celebrations of life. Most places are charging $200 flat fee. If you come in and use the system, that's what it costs. We tried to reduce that down to $100 fee. It means they have access to the microphones and that the sound system in the gym. It doesn't have to mean that we're locked into that. We need somebody with just one microphone. We can wiggle around that a little bit, but we do need to have some type of a flat rate moving forward because we're nickel and diming $5, $10, $15 here and there. Bluetooth speaker can remain the same. That's just a small plug-in. Hourly rates, North Belgrade Community Center is the NBCC. Residents are $25 an hour, non-residents are $50. That can remain the same. That's a very small building. It's used much less. That seems like a pretty fair rate in the area. On the second page, you'll see it says CFAS. We would like to get rid of breaking down rentals of the social room outside of regular business hours. So if you've not been to the facility, we have the social room in the back, and then you've got the remainder of the facility. We would like to get away from weekend rentals of just the social room because the reality of that is in the last year, people have learned, unfortunately, in some cases, we're renting the social room for $25 an hour, but the cameras show us that they're using the entire facility. So it's an easy way to get around them. So we go from having 30 people in there to having 200 and it just doesn't work. Right. So most places have moved away from that model. It means that it's a flat rate facility on the weekends. That's what you get. You need to use the bathrooms in the hallway anyway. So you're never just going to rent the social room. You would already have access to the kitchen. You'd already have access to the gym, etc. The social room absolutely could be rented Monday through Friday when Avery and I are there for meetings, which would be very appropriate to keep that $25 rental fee. Residents currently are at 50. Obviously, we don't want to go up on our residents. We're trying to find a balance here. Most places are looking at residents are like 75 to 85 an hour. We suggested 65. Non-residents was already at 100, which is on the higher end, or non-residents, was on the higher end of rental. So we kept that at 100. You'll see the gym breakdown is there, those remain the same. And then the only other change to the policy for the rental purpose is we currently offer nonprofits free rental, but that is not limited in the language to nonprofits from Belgrade. So that can be nonprofits from anywhere in the area. We certainly want to provide them with a service, but we have a few organizations who I would most gentle way I can say it is we're taking advantage. So they are taking up space in the facility because we don't have language saying we can't turn them away, essentially. And so we would like to change that language to nonprofits get one free rental per quarter, and then it's $100 donation for their rental. It's a fair way to balance out the two. They still have access to all of the things that they had access for before, but it's some revenue back to the rec department to support some of that wear and tear. Yes.
So is that any nonprofit or Belgrade?
It is any nonprofit. That's how the language has been. So we certainly, you know, I try to always stay away from, I don't want to have to be like resident, non-resident. We've tried to find a balance with summer camp programming and the rest of the rentals. The nonprofits we see are 98% of the time from Belgrade or in the district. So the RSU8. Alcohol contract needs to pretty much remain the same. Those fees are very high. We don't get a lot of alcohol contracts. It's already language that's been approved by the lawyer for the town, so it makes sense to avoid hashing that contract out at this time. We are booking already into end of July for rentals. So this has been on the table for a while. We have lots of deposits already made. We have lots of rentals already paid in full, so we would certainly honor those rates because we haven't given them notice and we've made notes in our calendar to that. So those are the rentals. We have a lot of pressure for the summer camp portion, especially with cost for our staff. So we're trying to, again, find a balance with that without going up too much on our residents. So you'll see that the proposal, I've done a lot of research. Oakland is the only other rec program in our district. They operate a 6-week campers week. It's $90 per child for 3 weeks. It's not manageable for us, obviously, because we're running at a higher staff, we're running at longer hours. So last year we were running at $90 per child. You have a second or third child discount. So we're looking at, and we were running from 8 to 5. Those of you who have been in a summer camp understand that 8 to 5 really means 7:45 to 5:30 if we're lucky often. So we do need to try to find some accountability on either end. It made sense without going up too much. We don't have every camper doesn't need to be there till 5 o'clock. So we do have a fair amount of campers who are only there until 4 o'clock. So rather than going up for rates for everybody, it made sense to keep the second and third child discount, to keep the rate at $90 with camp hours from 8 to 4, which is what 98% of camps operate on. But we will stay until 5, and then that additional fee would be a $45 per child fee, which raises the rate to $135 to cover that additional hour for 5 days a week. I've hashed the numbers a million times. Parents can't all pick up at 4 o'clock, and I understand that. So I'm trying to find a balance between all or none. And then our non-resident rate would go from $135 to $175 if they took advantage of that 5 p.m. Registration fees this year we had already agreed on of $10. That's going to offset cost of the t-shirts. So that had been mentioned prior. We do get some support from Union Church, which has helped with camperships. And then you'll see the Kids Zone rates. Those have not gone up for 7 years. So we're looking at a resident rate of 18 going to 20 with the second and third child discount staying in place. And a non-resident would go from 20 to 23, keeping the non-child discount or the second and third child discount in place. Sale programs the same. Those are much higher rates because they're specialized. So $235 and $255. We do prorate if they're attending Camp Golden Pond. It's too much information for you, but we figure out the math. So they're with us half a day and then they go to sailing. So that's what we're proposing. There's a lot of information there. I have run the numbers 9 ways of Sunday. Lorna and I have looked at it. We really are doing our best to offset costs for families without raising too high, but trying to find a balance where we have some wiggle space with non-residents. We have some wiggle with the rentals to accommodate and still be able to program accordingly. Yeah.
Great job on all this.
Oh, thank you.
Clearly really spent a lot of time on it, thought it through.
Yeah.
8 ways to Sunday, as you said.
Yeah.
Under the sound system.
Yep.
Does that include the use of the video equipment, or is that?
They can't record. There's no recording there. If they wanted to Zoom, it would require somebody to be there, probably show them how to Zoom. They can plug into it if they want to. It includes the sound system with the speakers. It will pull up the cameras, so it's easy enough to just plug their USB in if they really wanted to operate a Zoom meeting. The Republican Party did do that a couple of weekends ago.
I was particularly thinking of like a celebration of life. You know, for people who couldn't attend, it might be nice.
It's very user friendly, as you saw at the last information meeting.
So that option.
It is an option. If they asked for it, they absolutely could have access to it.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
And they would know to ask for it if it would. Okay.
When we rehash out that rental form, which is on that 4th page, we would need to put all those changes in there. When Avery or I do an intake, we ask them to go through the paper with us and tell us exactly what they need prior to the event.
Yeah, and just out of curiosity, what is the range of rental activities? I mean, I think all the rentals is just being like family gatherings or something like that, but.
Family reunions, celebrations of life. We have 2 weddings this summer. We have a class reunion coming in. We've gotten Democratic and Republican parties bringing in candidates for debates. It's growing every day. We have a music festival that called us for a rental information this week. So birthday parties are a big one because it houses a bounce house quite nicely. You know, there was one there this weekend. Doug is caught on camera playing kickball. We should probably put that out there somewhere.
He's moving much slower than he is.
We might need a lift for a ceiling tile or 2, but he is good at kickball. Obviously the town meeting is there, but yeah, the facility is getting used more and lots of.
It's here.
Ian, made it.
Okay, so we need to take, wait, Matt has a question.
Have you thought about a fee for picking your child up late?
We do have a fee for picking children up late. It's $15 by happening. The hard part about that is always collecting that fee, and sometimes they are I would say our families who probably need the most support. So from my standpoint, rather than having it feel like it's a penalty, is to just have the rate that needs. They're more likely to pay it if they think we're trying to work with them and support their family. I understand they need a 5 o'clock pickup. Does it mean we're gonna avoid the 5:15? Probably not. It's always, I always try to not have it be like this, right? Because then it feels like we're creating an environment where they're being penalized all the time. The Union Church has been very generous with helping some of our at-risk families, you know, in covering some of those fees where they've come across a hardship of some type and trying to, you know, take care of that for families. But our rates have not gone up in quite some time. So it gets to the point where you're like, are you underselling the program? I do think that the transportation, the MOU that we were able to work out with Andrew is going to be a huge piece for us. It's allowing me to rework some budget pieces too. This also will, so that's always the goal ultimately. I think last summer, I'd have to look at the exact report. It was like just shy of $5,300 in transportation. So us reaching that agreement and him understanding that these families are already paying into taxes, and now we're asking them to pay in again to recreation transportation budget, right? Essentially. So having that off the table is really going to be a huge support.
And that's the transportation for the field trips?
It is. It covers all of our field trips.
Oakland.
So I had done some research and found that they had an MOU for quite some time with the Oakland, and at least 5 years. And then it was on the table last year, but the conversation never happened. He was very open to having that. There is a cap of $8,000 on it, but that transportation could be used like when we take our April field trip to the transfer station. That'll cover that. And he's willing to give us that agreement for 3 years. That is very supportive. That's helpful. Yeah.
So do we need any action on this?
Plenty of like back-to-back rentals on the weekend and stuff. There's there's enough in here, so if we're paying somebody overtime to keep it clean, it's.
Yeah, I mean, I think what we were talking about is moving forward, we've been trying, like, if I know there's a weekend, what I've been trying to do is leave 2 hours early one day so I can go in for 2 hours on a weekend. We've had to finagle that.
Yep.
We lost 2 after-school program kids to go back to college, and another one just moved, so we're running very low and very tight right now until town meeting on Saturday. If Corey has the manpower, he certainly could send somebody in to do cleaning on the weekend. It just hasn't worked out right now. He's tried to coordinate that with some plowing as well, but
I think going forward, Krista and I and Corey will be working together to come up with some creative ideas for the next budget cycle.
Okay.
We're gonna.
there's been some other,
It's a-
you know, in the
yeah.
past, they had a cleaning company, then they had a 25-hour position for just Parks and Recreation, which covered the cleaning between North Belgrade and CFAS.
I'm sure most people hit their 40 at least by the end of the Friday on,
Yeah.
and then you get a couple cleanings and
Yeah.
it's, you know, you gotta keep the facility nice, but we wanna make sure that these are covering it.
Right.
So.
Yeah.
Okay. And this wouldn't be immediate, so we would need to give families time, obviously. So we were saying we should get through this weekend, and probably look at March 1st would be our goal. Ultimately.
To advertise,
Yeah, so we have adequate time to advertise and notify them.
The board has the authority to reset the fees.
That's why you have it.
Well, you know, on something else we looked at, but it still has to go to warrant.
Right.
That's why.
Yeah.
This looks fine to me. I don't,
Want to take over?
does anyone have any?
Yeah, no, I don't think there's anything I could add or subtract for sunset at all, honestly.
We tried.
Good.
I move we approve the, whoops,
Yeah.
what?
The only thing I'm looking at on the fees is, it says, like to adjust the clean deposit fee to non-refundable. It shouldn't be a deposit fee if it's non-refundable, it should be a cleaning fee.
Yeah, so we'll change the language to cleaning fee, and it was prior $100 in 2019, that's what the contract read. And at some point, somebody changed it back without approval, so we're moving that, so it'll just say cleaning fee.
Yeah.
And
I
not
don't
refundable.
want $100.
That's what the board had approved a while ago, so it's at 50 right now.
Yeah, I'm not
Yeah.
sure, like I said, $100 is enough.
We wanna make sure and cover that, especially if it, especially if it's,
Facility.
right,
It's a big place.
yeah.
I know what I charge to clean an office building is about the size of that, and to do it once a week, I charge $95, but it's not after 50 people being in a building, 100 people being in a building. So,
But if you have a small group of 15
It's-
people,
It is always just trying to find a balance between the two. It
Right.
really is, between going up
Could
so
try
high
the
that you
100 and
price
if we
yourself out.
find that doesn't do it.
if it doesn't work, you could always put a layered
reconsider.
fee in.
Kind of track that on the
Yeah.
budget
You
and see
may-
how it does.
you may-
Yeah.
Yep.
And the language will change from deposit to cleaning fee.
Right.
Non-refundable.
I move we approve the Parks and Rec fees as presented, with the exception of changing the deposit fee to a cleaning fee.
Second.
so. Thanks, back.
All yours, it's all yours.
Okay,
The next thing is winter cleaning and sidewalk in the village.
So with the holiday stroll now over, there has been some chatter about keeping the sidewalks cleared in the village through the winter season. And I listed a couple of options there. I did speak with Hollowell Public Works. They do have brick sidewalks as well. They use a machine made by Wacker Newson. And it is the WL28 to clear their sidewalks and brick sidewalks. And posting information, I reached out, they gave me a name, Jeff Moran is the guy at Central Equipment who has those. I also posed a couple of questions and I think, Corey was going to zoom in, so he may be there. Corey, if you're on, would you speak up? Might be the iPhone too. Maybe not. So it concerns me adding, that to facilities and maintenance in the winter. Right now I've got Corey, Dan, Kevin, and Wes. Much of Kevin's time right now is gonna be, divided between work and doing his CDL because he got accepted into that class. So it concerns me of adding, this on in addition to the other maintenance, in winter. Plowing all of our facilities, snow blowing, shoveling, and using, tractor. And also a question of, do we have adequate equipment already to do the work? I know Corey said that the tractor seemed to work good when they went down to do for the holiday stroll, but I'm not sure that that's really what you want to put on those sidewalks. I'm not sure how much damage it might do. So the board also could put an ordinance together which would require property owners to keep the sidewalk in front of their business or home clear. And I did pull, there are just a handful that I could find online anyway. That have something, and City of Bangor did have something, so obviously they're a city, they're not a small municipality like we are, but there was a bit of information for that as well. So.
Augusta used to have the same thing, that's why I lived in Augusta, I was supposed to keep it clear, but they never enforced it.
Right, yeah, well, Hollowell said that they have something as well, but he said that nobody adheres to it, and they always end up taking care of this, but so. Yeah. He did say the same thing. But it's just, I know that it's been a topic, so we could discuss and.
So do we have an adequate snow blower or plow or whatever now that would do the job, even if it might not be perfect?
We do have snow blower on the tractor, but I'm not sure that tractor. I can't say with certainty that it won't ruin the bricks.
You'd have to, if he was gonna use that machine, you'd have to put the
guides on it.
the guides on it.
I would think that'd be worth trying before looking at that.
Yeah.
For $110,000.
I get a big gulp.
But the problem.
Well, when it's about 3/10 of a mile, it's not a big distance.
It's not.
Yeah.
Bruce?
The problem I see is, facility maintenance does not have the time to do that, they don't even have the time to do what they got to do now. How are you gonna expect them to maintain the site? You'd have to, I mean, at that point, you're gonna have to hire another employee.
We had this discussion this morning, not about the sidewalks, but simply trying to come up with a solution to ensure that facilities are being adequately cleaned. And it is super difficult because even though we have 3 full-time and a permanent part-time, there's a lot to do between all of the facilities we have for winter maintenance. They are
I'm saying,
spread fairly thin.
You don't have any more expansion to take on anymore. And then, same thing with summer, I mean, you guys, board and as a town, really need to think about what we're, before we accept more stuff for maintenance in the summertime.
The big thing I see on sidewalks is if you clear brick sidewalks and put salt and sand on them, what happens is the salt goes down between the bricks, allows the top a few inches to start to melt, and then everything starts to refreeze and you start to heave bricks. If you ever we're down to Hollowell before they redid their front street or whatever you want to call it down there, the sidewalks Oh, we started doing this, because everything's brick. I preferred, you've never had brick sidewalks down there. This is group one, put brick sidewalks in, they put them in, and that's why we said we weren't maintaining them, because there's too much upkeep. If we're gonna start maintaining them, my preference would be to rip the brick sidewalks out, spend the money and pave them. Cause then we can clean them whatever you want for a snow blower. If the community wants to clean it with a snow blower, they can clean it with a snow blower and you're not gonna hurt them. So we don't have the personnel, we don't have a public works department.
I'm Chris Evans. If you remember, I was the town health officer during COVID. I brought this to the town when Anthony Wilson was our town manager. My ex-husband was on the board, Dan, Melanie was all on the board, because people walk through our town. The municipalities say that it is our town's responsibility to keep that egress open. However, nobody's going to enforce it. I do know that the bricks are not laid in there, very simple. They're down in there, so it allows for cleaning of those brick sidewalks. There are many people, I live on Main Street. I watch the people walk down in the side of the road that's hardly cleared and almost hit by big rigs. So we either need to think about the safety of our community and what we need to do to help keep our town healthy. I was told years ago that that was going to be taken up by the road commission or the road department and by the town and by Anthony, and that has never been addressed as far as I know, because no one has ever gotten back to me. And I addressed it as a health issue for our community during COVID. And now it's a safety issue for our townspeople. And this gentleman right here was very nice to do the sidewalks for us. And the letter that was sent and everything that was said, I was kind of embarrassed by this town.
Not everything.
No, not everything. There was very thank you.
appreciate it.
Not very well appreciated. Yes.
So the sidewalks have come before the various boards. This will be like the fourth time. And every time the board has voted down, maintain it. So, I mean, it's not, nobody's gotten back to you. It's been voted down. It's been on public record 4 times now, or 3 times now, before time.
After the road committee took it up. Because that's where I told it it's gonna go. And or someone has their, sorry. Yeah.
Joe Naaman, I live on Flinch Cove Road. I have a basic question. Who owns those brick sidewalks? I remember years ago that the Friends of Belgrade Lakes Village was raising money for the lamps and the sidewalks and everything else, and there was a big debate over putting them in as a safety issue at that time. Elderly people, people with wheelchairs, people with walkers, people using people just with poor mobility. They were a hazard at that time in places in other cities. They're ripping them up because they were hazards and replacing them. And I thought it was ill-conceived for Belgrade to be putting them down when other places are pulling them up, and yet they went in. So I received the same notice that you got. If it's what is the status of the Friends of the Belgrade Lakes Village? There was some comment that they were getting ready to disband that I saw online. But if they insisted on putting that in, where is their responsibility for maintaining it? And shouldn't they have budgeted that at the time if it was clear the town was not going to do it? And the letter that went out, I think, ought not to have been sent, because by saying you're going to hold people responsible if they do it wrong and recoup costs of losses from them, you sort of put yourself in the position of the owner and that you're responsible, because otherwise how could you recoup these costs? It was a poorly advised letter that got sent out and never should have included that. But what is the status of the Friends of the Belgrade Lakes Village? Are they still an ongoing entity? And if so, why aren't they maintaining what they put in against everybody's advice?
I can speak to that as a board member of Friends of Belgrade Lake Village.
Oh, good.
We did give the town on escrow monies to repair any of the bricks that were out there that needed to be repaired. And as far as I'm concerned, as far as I remember, it's about $10,000 that's in that.
So where is that money?
I remember the escrow thing for the lights, I don't remember.
It's for the sidewalks as well.
Great, that's good to know. But now that.
So two things, one, if we are gonna think about doing the sidewalks, I think probably need to contact Cummins and Son. And get that incorporated into the filing contract, cause you wouldn't have to clear the sidewalk the same day as the storm, you could do it the next day after a storm, that's what most other municipalities don't do it the same day as the storm. You could include that in the filing contract, if you guys would choose to do it that way. Two, as far as the repairs, the people being responsible for repairs of them bricks. It's in public record, Rick Damon was select person, Rick Damon brought that up, pretty sure the boards voted on it, you guys have to go back. He absolutely said that the town of Belgrade or the residents wouldn't be responsible for any damaged bricks because you wouldn't get anybody, including me, to go down there and plow any driveways. Because if you're responsible for chipping a brick, for clearing somebody's driveway or clearing, out their area, nobody's gonna plow down it, nobody's gonna snowball down it, nobody's gonna do anything down there. It's things happen, it's called maintenance. And, bricks, I wasn't in favor of bricks either. You go down the pole, you go down Hallwell, they are very hazardous. I wasn't in favor of it either. But the board at that time agreed that, like I said, you have to go back to public record and check it for sure, but I know Rick Gavin was a big speaker on this. That we weren't gonna be weren't gonna make people responsible to repair the bricks.
We'll have to go back and look on that.
Right.
I don't.
I did a walk down there today and back just to be prepared for tonight. You can walk as from the Hello Good Pie all the way to St. Helena's Church, and so that's like 2 doors down. That church and it's not shoveled, Union Church isn't shoveled, Looney Gear isn't shoveled. And then you go all the way from the Fulton Road, all the way to the post office. There's no shoveling done by any of the residences or the businesses. And then there's also nothing shoveled as far as the dam. If people wanted to go down there, that's public property for ice fishing or whatever, they can't get there either. And then from the pin curl all the way up to number 68. On the opposite side of the road, there's nothing shoveled. So you're gonna have people walking in the street, and that's a safety hazard. And a number of people, I'm sure you've caught the chatter on the Facebook page, people walk, they exercise, they want, right now, you've got them walking both ways in the street the way it is now. And that's not safe either.
So where I live next to the Village Inn, there's no sidewalk on that side. The Village Inn has the sidewalk.
Right.
So I had to go to the Seven Lakes building the other day for a meeting. I wanted to drive my car because I did not feel safe. It was dusk. And I only lived 3 doors down from that building, but I walked in the street with a light because I was afraid I would get hit because the sidewalk on the opposite side of the street is not cleared. That goes along with the crosswalk. And so,
Yes.
You're little, right?
We've got to.
Several people, not getting on.
So you bought the proper thing that is supposed to be in compliance with.
I got the rubber skids. so I
How
don't hit the
expensive would
bricks.
it be for the town to do it if this gentleman were on his own to do it because he didn't want to be sued for. I mean, that was just a horrible thing to say, not only it set the town up for liability. Because now you've put it out there that you own those sidewalks and keeping them clear because you threatened to sue people who've done it wrong. Your lawyer never should have agreed to that email going out.
So Sharon has her hand up. Sharon?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. I'm really confused at this whole topic. If we've never taken care of the sidewalks prior to this, and they were brick prior to this year, I don't understand why it's an issue now, other than the post that was made on Facebook. It doesn't, I'm just trying to figure that out. If the town hasn't done them before, then, and we're talking about adding more things onto the town, while on the other Facebook page, we're talking about how our taxes are going up. And again, I don't live in the village, but the village has parking spaces all along the edge of the road. So someone walking in the road the road that you're walking on in the village is wider than the road I'm living on and walking on. And there's traffic and trucks and everything on the roads that other people are walking on. So I truthfully, I'm just being honest. I love the brick sidewalks, but I don't understand why, if the town hasn't been doing it up until this point, why they should be now. That's all.
Yeah. Thank you, Sharon.
Go ahead. Hold on.
Stop.
Hey, how are you?
Good, how are you?
Wonderful. Sorry I couldn't be there. I had to work like most people, but I'm with Sharon on this one, that when I took facility maintenance over 15-ish years ago, probably, yeah, sorry, that's my new puppy. It was brought up then when we didn't have brick sidewalks, we just had sidewalks, of why facility maintenance was not taking over the sidewalks, like, because we couldn't. We can't now, as much as we can't then. And it's even worse now because of the bricks, and it was hot top then, we had sidewalks then, we didn't take care of them. And I don't know why it's an issue now, and it should not be brought up, let alone to raise taxes. We've got more facility maintenance people now than we did then, which I haven't figured out what they're all doing. But I'm agreeing that I think we should just let it go. And there's not that many businesses open now in the village in the winter as there is then. Actually, Day's Store was actually open then when I took that over. So why is this an issue now? That's one end of the village, and the other end, I've gotten excuses on Facebook when I fought this. That real estate's open in churches. Well, the church built themselves a big parking lot on the backside of School Street. And I think this is a null issue now, that let's just put it to bed and worry about it when maybe the village gets bigger, which I don't see it happening. Thank you for your time.
Thanks, Steph.
I just have you could respond to almost anything in the budget that way. We didn't do it before, so why should we do it now? We didn't have a rec department for a billion years. I mean, when I was growing up here, we walked down to the lake and that was that. And there was a big building in the middle of, I don't know what it is, a golf course now or something, but people change, habits change. We're supposed to be healthier. A lot of people on the site also said, we go walking there to get our exercise, or they do go to the business. I don't think there's anything anywhere that says, well, unless there's 5 businesses open, we don't own that sidewalk, or we're not responsible for that sidewalk. A similar comment was made, and this is a segue about the parking lot. People wanted to know why that was gated and why that was a big pile of snow and ice, because they wanted to park there to access the lake for different reasons. And again, who owns and maintains that? There are big Town of Belgrade signs up all over that parking lot. So again, is that another friend of Belgrade Lake Village thing or a Town of Belgrade thing? And if it's Belgrade, you gotta take those signs down, because right now you own it. If something happens in that lot, you're responsible. So why is that gated and closed and not able to be used?
But right now, the town of Belgrade doesn't want.
No, but you have 4 signs up
We
there
didn't-
that say
we
in
didn't-
clear
we
to
didn't put 'em
do.
up.
It does, they're clearly there,
We didn't put them up.
then you should take them down.
As I said, probably the town of Belgrade.
We didn't put them up, so actually they don't belong to us yet.
No, but
But
it's,
they should come down. And we voted recently after they do the holiday stroll to not plow that parking lot, again, budgetary reasons.
Okay, well, that makes sense, but
So the gates.
right now
the
you
gates are
own
there.
them.
The gates are there and the gates are closed, people can't use the parking lot, so it doesn't need to be plowed.
Yes, I just wanted to say, I don't mind helping out and doing what I do with the sidewalks. My only concern was when it was put out there that I couldn't be responsible if I damaged the sidewalk. And the reason I started doing that was for public safety. I do see people walking, I see people trying to get around. There is snow buildup, which makes the village narrow, and there is a lot of traffic. I mean, one day when I was out, I witnessed a tractor trailer truck actually passing a plow truck in the village. And I don't know anything about your budget. I don't know how any of this works. But my concern is we can decide to do nothing. But is it gonna take somebody getting hit by a car? And is that something that we wanna wait for? In the headline with small town doesn't clear sidewalks, pedestrian hit. I mean, somebody was killed recently in Fairfield by crossing the road. And I lived in Fairfield and the town has way more sidewalks than we do. And obviously it's a bigger town, bigger budget, and they took care of it. I'm not trying to pressure anybody. I was just trying to help out. And to be told that I could be responsible for damage, that was very discouraging. That's all I had to say.
So the conversation has gone on for a couple of years. Prior to me being the rec director, I've served on the business group. We've had the conversation come up almost every year, including last year when Lorna and I had the conversation about we need to find a way to at least keep those sidewalks clean through holiday stroll. So we were able to help and support that and make it happen. And then the agreement was that the sidewalks would not be maintained after. I can say as a taxpayer, so there's multiple hats here. As a taxpayer, I would prefer us to not have the scenario that you're referring to, Merle, which is we make the headlines for the wrong reasons, right? I don't think it hurts for us to pursue what Bruce is talking about and get an idea of what that would cost to keep those sidewalks clean. We are, I know we have a much less year-round community downtown, but the interest in being healthy and walking and staying active in our community has economic impact as well. So I see that. Businesses call all the time from a business standpoint and say, is there a reason sidewalks aren't there? And I do always refer them back here. We saw more people than ever for holiday stroll, and the sidewalks being clear were a very nice kind of transition for those 2 weeks after even where you saw people being active and walking downtown, which from a rec director standpoint is what we want. We have more people than ever calling to ask for an alternative right now for indoor walking because the sidewalks are not available. And we certainly always accommodate that. We have anywhere from 10 to 20 people on Monday mornings. We've added Thursdays, we've even added afternoons on Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Fridays to accommodate that. But as a town, I think at the least, we have a responsibility to pursue what it would cost. We may not have the money, but I don't think it hurts when we see taxes going up and people wanting to see what they're getting back for a service. And if we can give them access to a community, to go to church, to eat at a restaurant, to get a coffee, then I do think we have an obligation to at least research it.
I just want to add, you're right, we have a post office in town. None of us on Main Street get our mail delivered. There are elderly people that walk down the street every day to get their mail. Last year, I had DOT pound on my door, asking me if it was my cars parked in Main Street because they could not plow. So we need to make it safer because they couldn't plow the road either because the way the cars were parked because of all the snow. So I do think it's a safety issue. That's what I was addressing as the health officer and that I'm addressing now. It is a safety concern.
I do think Lorna makes a point that our facilities and maintenance is stretched thin right now,
Oh.
so I'm not sure that putting that on their plate is appropriate. I also don't love the idea of putting an ordinance in place where you're gonna penalize people who live downtown or don't live downtown during the winter, because we know that most of them are elderly.
It doesn't,
So,
it doesn't
yeah.
sound like that works anyway.
Yeah.
Talking to the
Right.
towns, some of the towns that.
So
have
what, I guess the question is, what would it take? Despite if people think we should do it or we shouldn't, it doesn't cost anything to throw it out into the universe and ask what it would cost to clean those.
It doesn't hurt to talk with Brooke and find out.
We can check. In the meantime, I don't have a problem with the public doing it as long as they're using equipment that's appropriate for the bricks. Because the last thing I want somebody to do is start catching bricks and not just start chipping them, pulling them up. Because then you get into a whole another mess of fixing bricks in the spring and trying to relay them, and then you've got tripping hazards and everything else. So as long as it's done right, but you have to remember, you really don't want salt. Put a lot of salt and calcium down on those bricks. They're
I
gonna be
don't think
slippery,
so.
but the problem is,
I just found,
if they get cleared and somebody does go out and start salting them, you're gonna have them heave. That's the big problem with bricks. It's like anything else, anybody who's got a brick patio. If you go clear that in the winter and you happen to put salt and sand down on it, they start to heat. And that means pulling everything up, re-leveling everything, re-putting bricks back down. And you don't want to get into that kind of maintenance stuff.
I get it, for sure.
I just have another comment. Mr. Dameron just got done telling us he has so many more people than he did before that he doesn't even know what they're doing. So if there are people like that maybe work in the cemeteries in the summertime and they don't have anything to do, I mean, you just said that.
Scott doesn't run them.
But
Down maintenance anymore. He hasn't
Okay.
done it for years.
But the point is, like the day after a storm, it's 4/10 of a mile. How expensive could that be? Hollowell has literally miles of these brick sidewalks on both sides.
But they probably have a full-time,
They have a
they have
Works
public works.
department.
Well, we don't
Like
have full-time public works. We
I
have
understand,
two people.
but it's 0.4 miles. And now, if you don't do anything, you set yourself up for liability. And you said, Merle here, if you, not only are you on the hook, as a lawyer, I have to tell you this. If you damage those bricks, you're on the hook. And if you clean them and somebody trips and falls because you didn't clean it well enough, you're on the hook. So you ought to just stay in your lane and like walk in the road like everybody else, because you're gonna get sued one way or the other. You know, and the town is, liability insurance is a big line item in any town's budget. Do you really wanna have somebody get hit by an 18-wheeler lugging logs from up north? You really don't. There's not a good ending to that scenario, even a little bit.
I think the issue, for me, the issue is safety. And I live down near the dam and I see people all the time. And they're not people who live in the village. They're not people that live downtown. There are 2 or 3 people that do walk to the post office every single day. But the people that come past the post office, walk up the hill, go to the little triangle and come back down, do not live in town, but it's a place where they can walk, used to be able to walk safely. And I think for me, it's a huge safety issue, and the point that we don't want to be known as the village that didn't clear their sidewalks. I've always been an advocate for clearing the sidewalks. I will continue to be an advocate for clearing the sidewalks. The one advantage of those sidewalks is when they were put in, they have an asphalt base. So it's not just bricks on dirt. So they were put in, they have an asphalt base, and the bricks sit on the asphalt. So you don't get, they're designed so you don't get the heaving. I think we need to find, I had mentioned to Corey that when they cleared for the stroll, well, how many hours did you feel it would take? And he said, you're probably looking at 4 hours. So pick an average cost per hour. $30 an hour if you figure pay plus benefits. I don't know. 4 times 30 is $120. We have 10 storms, we have 15 storms. We're not talking a huge amount of money.
Right.
It's a question of, do we have equipment that we can adapt enough to do the job for those few storms? Now, this year we're having more snow. Last year, we wouldn't have been having a conversation with as many storms as we've had this year. But I think we owe it to the town. I think we owe it to the walkers to get the pricing and see if there's a way we can make it happen. Is there a way we can try it on a trial basis? But I think from a safety point of view, yes, it's healthier for you, and there are a lot of people who walk. I mean, same other day.
Right.
I'm sitting inside watching them walk, so I should probably go out and join them.
Right.
But it's an issue. There are a lot of people using it, and they're not from, they don't live on the village, on the road, on the 27.
And
So-
what about the audit? Where is the $10,000 gone that the Friends of?
It's
Belgrade
not
Lake
gone, it's sitting in a
Village-
reserve account.
It's in a reserve
Oh,
account.
what was the result in that? Or then? I mean, what is the purpose of that money being held? That could be used to offset however much it costs to snow blow 4/10 of a mile 5 times a year.
It needs to be,
Yeah,
we need to look at that.
yeah, $10,000 though, if you start using it, isn't gonna last long. Then somebody starts running into light poles or damaging light
Well-
poles or light bulbs. That
Right
money
now,
is
we're
there
saying
for-
there's no money to do it, and we clearly do have money to do it, we're just not using it.
No, the money isn't set aside for cleaning sidewalks. It's for-
I've got village lights, Astro, 8,400.
That's because there were 2
and I
light
have
poles that came down,
Sidewalk improvements, $75.
right?
That's all I see.
Yeah, that's what it was. There were 2 lamp posts that were taken down in accidents. And they replaced them on a depreciated value because that's how insurance claims work. So we, the town, only got back the money, less depreciation. So that depreciation money came out of that $10,000, so there were 2 poles that happened to. 2 insurance claims.
We do have another one. So the lights escrow is the money that could be used for the sidewalks.
The town would have to.
It's not designed.
What, it wasn't designed, it was, well, we'd have to look at the wording, I think it's maintenance and upkeep. So we could determine, now the question is, if you have money to really take care of repairs. Is it good budgeting to use those for regular expenses? In my perspective, no, you don't use that for regular expenses. You have regular expenses, it should be put into your budget and into your workflow. So I personally would not use reserve money. I would save that for the time the next light pole gets down or the next something happens.
But why is the town paying for the light poles anyways? I know the town has insurance, but if a car runs into it, their car owner's insurance will pay for
The
it.
insurance
they
will
didn't-
pay, but they don't pay the full cost of replacement. Because insurance settlement on that is an actual cash value settlement. And there's depreciation applied. There were 2 lamp posts that went down. They're about $750 in depreciation on each lamp post, which is why that account, instead of being 10,000, has depreciation from those 2 lamp poles removed.
Or maybe insurance.
It's
should be
insurance,
changed to
it's the way the
actual-
insurance
yeah,
pays.
Actual replacement value would be a better wording.
You
here.
can't get actual cash value on an outside structure, you don't get replacement cost value. You can't buy it, I mean, you get it on a house, but you don't get an outside other structure. Like the lamp posts, so.
So I heard 0.4 miles is one direction, I assume, so 0.8 miles,
No.
what we're
No.
arguing about. Correct? But we got another 50 miles-ish, I'll go 48, of town roads that don't have sidewalks. And we're fighting over 0.8 or 0.4 miles of sidewalks. Let's move on and find something else to fight about. Especially with our budget.
Well, we're not fighting, we're discussing. There are a lot of people that this concerns.
So in the meantime, what I would say is let's talk to our final contractors, let's see, get a cost. See what it would cost, because honestly, I don't think us trying to take care of the town, putting snow blowers on the trailer or tractors on the trailer, transporting them down there every time we have something, is gonna be an efficient way to do it. Anybody else got anything?
I definitely think we should look into it.
Let's find out what the cost is again.
That's fair.
We've done it before.
It's
It's
fair.
last
Yeah,
year.
we put it out to outside contract, to other contractors. With, some lawn care guys.
Didn't Butch used to do them?
Butch did it.
Would do
Yeah.
a lot
He used to snow blow with his Coyote.
with his Coyote.
Yeah.
And
Where's
you
our-
could ask him.
Yeah. He would know exactly what to do, because he did it.
I didn't do this to be noticed, I'm just trying to be helpful and
No, you gotta-
I worry about people.
Sued.
I mean, we all know, the village is congested in the summer without snow. It only gets worse in the winter. And I really don't want somebody hit by a car, cause like the lady said, I see lots of people walking, yeah, you. Right there, I see lots of people walking. And they're walking in the road, literally, that's all they have is the road.
Well,
And it's not even like, you step off the sidewalk, there's snow in the road, it doesn't get cleared when they plow. And so they're literally in the road, not the parking space, the road.
well, and down at the lower end or the upper end, I guess I would say, when I see people going over, they've parked someplace, probably at the post office, and they're going over to go ice fishing. And they're on the dam now,
Oh, yeah, that's.
which is really narrow, and you just have to you can come over sometime and sit in my house and watch those huge trucks come down that hill. And you've got people going, it's dangerous on a good day to say nothing with snow and without taking sidewalks. It's a dangerous situation. So. Okay, let's look into it. I think we need to get information and move on if someone doesn't have, if there's no other discussion.
Other business? No other business? All right, warrants.
Thank you all. Thank you.
Good night.
Good night.
What, yeah,
Thank you.
oh, thanks, I just. They passed my.
We're still looking for a health officer.
You're still looking for a health officer. Right up there. Thank you.
Is it a conference?
Yeah.
No? Okay.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
All right, Bruce.
One question that came up earlier, and unfortunately, I should know when it's happening. Have we came up with a policy for the CDLA licenses yet, for permits or anything like that? I thought the policy was gonna be written before we had anybody going for it. How is that working?
We haven't come up with anything, but we're also not paying for the CDL class.
Okay, so when
It was a scholarship,
it's a scholarship?
It's a free, basically,
Okay.
no cost.
no cost to the town.
Okay, perfect. As long as no cost and.
All right. Warrant,
I'm assuming we're just paying for his time to go there, but we're not paying for the class.
Correct.
Yeah.
all right, warrant number 4. $1,434.55.
Move to approve. Second.
Any questions, comments on that one? All those in favor? 5-0. Warrant number 5, $23,627.99. That's payroll warrant.
Move to approve. Second.
Questions on the payroll warrant? In favor? 0. Warrant 6. $718,202.66.
Move to approve. Second.
I was fine with everybody else.
I didn't have any problems.
Scott, do you have your hand up for a reason?
I do, and I'm sorry. And it's nothing about what you're going over right now. Being a plowing contractor, seeing the tractor going up and down the road that they use to snow blow the library and the town office. You might want to put a license plate on it to make it legal to drive up and down the road. I'm sorry, I'm out of place on this, but I was just a word of wisdom.
It's supposed to have a sticker too.
Yeah.
Right, and so they don't, in case of an accident, I'm just here to cover the town on that because I have to do with my my equipment as well. That is all. Sorry. Like I said, I joined the party late due to work. And I just want to make sure everybody was covered on that. Sorry.
Thank you.
Yeah, I didn't realize they were driving it up and down the road, or I would probably say the same.
They have, and I've gone around them 20 times. That is all. Thank you. Have a good night, all. Thank you for doing what you're doing. I appreciate you. My dad does too.
Yes, he does.
All right, I didn't see anything on the big one.
Yeah.
All set on?
No. Yeah.
All right, all those in favor? Five, nothing. Warrant, for 157.
That's the 2025.
Oh, okay,
Yep. Bill.
all right. $36,968.33.
Move to approve. Second.
Is that the last warrant for 2025?
We may have one more. Yeah,
Thank you.
you're welcome. Yeah.
Anyone see anything that you want questions on that one? Well, all right. So now all those in favor? All right, nothing. Warrant number 7, $6,399.55.
Move to approve, but I don't have it.
Is it on your desktop?
Yeah, it's on your table. It's BMV for the state of Maine. And you already signed it.
Oh, I just signed it this morning. I know this one. Okay, let's go approve.
All those in favor?
That was good.
Warrant number 8, $24,316.41.
Move to approve.
Second.
That's no one read this. All right, all those in favor? Five, nothing. Warrant number 9, $419.35.
Move to approve.
Second.
All right, all those in favor? Five, nothing. Manager report.
Attended information session January 6th, attended fire building meeting January 9 and 14. Attended leadership meetings with staff January 9 and 20. Attended managers meeting Thursday, January 15 via Zoom. It was a bunch of us kind of got together. Attended the BB Cog Board of Directors meeting January 20 via Zoom. Delta has notified us of the per capita increase to take effect July 1 to $60 per capita with amounts to an $81,050 increase. Auditors are on site this week doing work on the 2025 audit. We have a tentative date for our first 12-month budget meeting for Saturday, February 28th at 8 AM. So far, we have 9 to 10 who have confirmed they can attend. Waiting on 6 to 7 more. We plan to meet in the day with department heads. Lunch will be provided. This should give us a good head start on a majority of the budget and address any remaining items at regular select board meetings. This provides an opportunity for both the budget committee and select board to hear and receive the same information at the same time. We currently pay the state $277 for dispatch services. Those will increase to $36,752 July 1. We currently pay water bill a total of $31,850. Kennebec County is currently looking for dispatching services as the state's system does not match that of the county. Chief Deputy Reed will be scheduling a meeting with all town managers and select board members from all towns affected by this to discuss the issue and answer questions. We should hear something within a week or so on a possible meeting date and time. I'll push that out to all of you.
I think the board probably on the state one should draw up a letter to send to the state since Kennebec County is not gonna be dispatched through them anymore. That's gonna cut a huge workload off the state. So I think that they should be able to decrease that predatory item. In my eyes, I think it's time that the town start putting their foot down. We had a good dispatch center before the state forced us into the Peace Act. We had Kennebec County, had a beautiful dispatch center, and then the state passed a law, forced us into this unfunded. And, you know, I think it's time that the towns start putting their foot down, you know, same with telling the same DOT. I think it's time that you guys as a board, you know, and maybe try to get some other towns to do it. And step up, send a letter and saying, hey, you guys aren't dispatching fire services anymore, you're not gonna be dispatching Kennebec sheriffs anymore. So, you know, why are we getting an increase and why are we paying this much money? For state police that we get 2 weeks out of 6?
We get passed around now. Somebody calls 911, sometimes 3 different places before it goes through.
Yeah, 90% of our 911 calls are answered by Waterville calls.
It might be good to attend that meeting with Kennebec County and see what they have to say.
When is it?
I think they're gonna go with Augusta.
Right.
PD.
Can you email when you?
Yeah, I don't have it yet, but as soon as I get something, I'll push that out.
Yeah, maybe if a board
Yeah,
member,
I'd
I'd be
like to
interested
go.
going, and if a board member could go. it'd be
Yeah,
great.
I'd like to go as well. Yeah. I wanted to keep that on the radar because it seems like it might be somewhat important. And especially if it's an opportunity to reduce what we're paying to the state, that's a great.
I mean, it may not get us anywhere, but I
Right,
think.
it
it's
doesn't
worth-
hurt to ask.
Right.
Right. We have received some paperwork for USDA in connection with our CDS grant. We will be working with them over the next few weeks to get the application and other documents they need from us completed and submitted. We hope to hear from them no later than the middle of February, excuse me, on next steps. The mini town report is available online, as well as going out to every door today. We have several items for residents to review in preparation for the special town meeting on Saturday, January 24, 9 AM at the Center for All Seasons. And I put links, so when we get this posted, they'll be accessible. The PowerPoint presentation from the January 6th information meeting, which answers many questions and concerns from citizens on the upcoming budget vote. A list of warrant articles and their funding sources, our agenda for the day, the town meeting warrant, and the expense detail report as of January 2. Also, obviously, those are unaudited figures.
We have the question. Yeah. The mini town report went out it was mailed every door.
Yeah, every door delivery.
Right. Do we also send it to non-residents at their home address?
out of
We voted-
state,
we
is
voted.
that what you mean?
I
Yeah,
think we voted.
I mean,
No, this is every door delivery, so.
Right,
Every Georgia Rec, which is
Right.
just the town of Belgrade.
Right.
Just for this one.
but is it just for this one? Cause
Yeah.
normally we send it
Yeah.
to everybody.
This is it, right, when we do the regular
Yeah.
town report,
Yeah,
that's
for June.
different,
Okay,
that's different, that's not
Okay.
every door.
okay.
Just
So
We
the-
talked
yeah,
about, we
this
talked
is
about
different.
earlier,
Yeah. Yeah.
sending it
This is
to,
different,
out of state
yes.
people, and I thought,
right, yeah, no, this is different,
This, this was just this one we voted on, this abbreviated.
Thank you.
So it's-
a little mini one.
Okay.
The Lakes and Natural Resources Committee would like to meet with the select board to revisit the charge given to them several years ago to tighten up Belgrade's shoreline zoning ordinances and to seek, should have been seek my your advice on how to proceed. They will provide you with a synopsis of what has been accomplished to date and issues going forward in advance of that meeting. And to keep this in front of the public, I added in the information about changing Belgrade's fiscal year. It is on our website, but I'm gonna push that out again. Push it out again and put it on our Facebook page as well, but I put it here just to keep it in front of everyone. I won't read through that, you've read through it previously, but I just wanted to include it.
As far as the Lakes and Natural Resources Committee, when do they want to meet with us? Is there a date or?
At a future, no, they did not give a date. I just received an email and just asked if they could be put on sometime to speak with the board, so. I've put that in front of you, so probably within the next month, maybe month and a half. After we get town meetings out of the way.
Bruce,
So it's one thing that we didn't do, what we normally do for town meeting, usually have the monitor here at a meeting prior to town meeting to go over who's gonna speak on each article, and we did not do that for this.
I reached out to Christian to see if he felt he needed to get together with the board to go over the warrant articles, but because we had the informational meeting the other night, he felt very comfortable the way everything went and that it went very smoothly, that we wouldn't need to do that.
Okay, so we don't need to know who's gonna be speaking on each article.
I will likely handle most of the questions. If I can't answer it, we can go to someone else. That's how it was the other night.
Right, and your department heads also.
Department heads will be there.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Everybody?
Okay.
no? Oh. We'll wait next Monday night.
Yep, makes sense.
Yeah, you're gonna post that, so that. shows-
Yeah, I already did. Yep. Yep. Good job.
Do you have any tonight? In preparation for next Monday, or are we all set? What executive
I
session?
don't know. Do you feel we need to?
I don't think so, you're gonna have.
I mean, I don't-
session I asked for.
Yeah, I've already pulled the report.
Okay,
Yeah.
so,
Yeah. Good
okay.
to go.
Okay. Then I move we adjourn at 9:06.
Second.
Ooh, that was forceful. Ugh.
Okay, just for the record.